Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again. It's my video about why I purchased a PSP in 2017. So let's get right into it. Now the first question everyone's going to ask is, well, why did you buy a PSP in 2017? Are they kind of obsolete? Are they kind of old? They have the PSP Vita out right now, even though that one's, in my opinion, kind of old now. So that came out in 2012, 2011, around there. And I mean, that's been, 6 years since then almost. So it's kind of like, why go out and buy a console that's literally a decade old, if not more? And here's the main reason why. The biggest reason is the games. Now, I used to have a PSP. This is actually the PSP 3000 model, as I have here. I used to have a PSP back in the day, back in like 2007, I think I purchased one. I ended up mowing lawns for a full summer in order to pay or get enough money in order to get my own PSP. Nobody I knew had one of these. It was kind of one of those luxury items on the street. Like, everybody and their mother had a Nintendo DS, and I was kind of that kid that didn't really like to have everything everybody else had. I wanted to have something that was completely different. Everybody would ask me, like, what's going on? Like, what is that? Where can I get one? Kind of thing. And the reason I wanted to get one of these is because actually it was the only system on the market, a portable system that is, that could play Twisted Metal on the go. And as a kid, my favorite series of all time was Twisted Metal, and I always wanted to play Twisted Metal head on. And this is before this port came to the PS2, which I did have at the time. But as a kid, I'm like, oh my god, it's on the go, and the PSP looks so awesome, but it's so expensive. So I worked my ass off for a full summer, finally got the money, bought one of these, and I purchased this game at a local GameStop. And without any shock, it was an awesome system, and I loved it. I played it almost every day. But, being that it's one game, it kind of got old, so I broadened my library. I got a lot of other games. I got God of War, Chains of Olympus. I got Flat Out Head On. I got GTA, Liberty City Stories, and a ton of others. I had like 30 plus games. I actually do have a video on YouTube somewhere on my very old channel. I'm not going to link it below or anything because I don't want anybody seeing it. It's a terrible video that I made when I was 14 years old. And it's literally my PSP game collection. It's actually out there. It's got like 30,000 views. It's probably pretty easy to find, but I'm not going to say which one it is. And it shows all my old games. I talk about them, and I think that's really cool that I made that video way back then. So I figured, it's been almost like 9 years since I sold my PSP, and the ironic part is I sold my original PSP to get a Nintendo DS, which was, in a way, kind of a good thing because I got to experience the Nintendo DS and the PSP and kind of, put them side by side and test them out. And it was a cool idea, and I love the DS, don't get me wrong, I love Mario, had no issues whatsoever with that system, and I had that for a good 5 or so years, and I just recently got rid of it. I think I gave it to my cousin. But I still have those feelings like, man, there's a lot of good games on the PSP, and they're out right now are super cheap to get. That is, if you get them used. Obviously, if you find some games that are brand new in the wrapping and everything, they're going to be more expensive because they're rare. They're not being made anymore. And being that they're on the UMD format, which, if you don't know what UMD is, essentially it's these little cartridges that are disc-based. So here's the front of a game, and then the back looks like a little mini DVD disc or a CD disc. Now, in my opinion, these were a really cool idea. They're a good concept in general because they hold a lot of data, at least for the time they did. They were almost 2 gigs of data they could hold on these things compared to a cartridge on a Nintendo DS can only hold like 500 megs or something like that. So in theory, they were a good idea, but in practice, they had a lot of issues. And what I mean by that is they were flimsy, they scratched easily, and the actual hardware of the device that they were putting in kind of rattled around, and it made a lot of noise. Like, you can really still hear, sorry, that was my computer. You can literally still hear like the disk drive working when you have the PSP on and running with a game in it. Let's see, I'm going to turn it on here. We'll boot it up, and then I'll let you listen to the mic. You can probably hear the disc moving in the background, which is kind of cool. So here we go, it's starting up here. And again, this is the PSP 3000 model. There was like 4 models actually made of the PSP. So there's the screen. I got like full brightness right now. Flat Out Head On is the game inside of it. Let me turn the sound off. I don't know if you can hear the disc in there or the disc moving around. Let me start the game and you probably hear it moving in there. But yeah, you get the point. That's pretty much like the sound it makes. You can still hear it kind of in the background. But yeah, that's Flat Out Head On that I'm playing on there right now. And honestly, in 2017, looking back at these games, now, as somebody who has a PS4, has an Xbox One, has a gaming PC, I'm used to really good graphics. I'm used to really seeing these awesome visuals that we get, pretty much gifted to us nowadays. It's kind of unfair looking back 10 years ago of what we have now. Like, if we could see 20 years ago even what we have now, we would have been, blown away. But we've been kind of in a way spoiled with all these graphics every now and now we're just getting to the point where like this isn't real enough, we need more realistic. And honestly though, playing these old games, so here's my game collection that I have as of right now. I bought all these, by the way, at the same time as the PSP, and the PSP I actually got from my coworker. He was just giving it away because he was trying to sell it and they wouldn't give him anything for it anymore because I guess they're out of value. But you can still get one on Amazon right now, the system, by the way, for like 80 bucks. Not a bad deal at all. And then all these games, so I got a few games here. I got Twisted Metal Head On. It's the main game here. I got Burnout Legends, which is pretty much Burnout Takedown 3, or wait, what was it called? Burnout Takedown, I think it was. Burnout 3, basically, and then it's like the first game and the second game mixed into it, so they got like Pursuit mode and stuff from the second game and all that. They also had the full Crash mode and online multiplayer, which I think the servers are down, so I can't really play that anymore online, but not an issue. It's still an amazing game for what it is. God of War Chains of Olympus, probably the best single-player game on PSP. Graphics are also very good for its time. But yeah, God of War is an awesome game. And then MotorStorm Arctic Edge, one of the later games to come out on PSP, one of the last ones. Again, amazing graphics for the time, not gonna lie. Like, even looking at it today, it still looks very good. Awesome particles hit the screen. The amount of content that's in the game, the tracks, the cars, you name it, the destructibility. It's awesome that they were able to implement that all in a PSP game. And then lastly, again, Flat Out Head On, which I'm playing right now. I do have a few more coming in the mail, like Medieval and ATV Alfred Fury. And GTA Liberty City Stories, I rebought again from my childhood just because I wanted to like relive it. And yeah, and overall though, I've been very pleasantly surprised, and I wasn't actually disappointed in the graphics or the gameplay, which I thought I would be, because being that it's 2017, it's been 8 or so years since I played a PSP. I really thought it would be just terrible. Like, I thought I just would hate it because I've been so spoiled with PlayStation 4 graphics and my gaming PC and my controls, you know, on the PS4 controller. And I have my Xbox One controller here, that I really thought going back to this control scheme would really screw me up. Honestly though, playing this for the past 4 days now, I think every night for about 2 hours, you know, playing some different games here and there, I haven't had any issues whatsoever. And honestly, for a gaming console, for a portable gaming console that is, the graphics still look really good for 2017. And like I said, yes, you can get a PSP Vita right now, which pretty much is a portable PS3. The graphics are basically PS3 when this was basically a PS2. And for being a PS2 game, there's still so much inside of these discs that it still, to this day, 2017 blows me away. And again, the pricing. So all these games, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and then the PSP itself, 20 bucks. I mean, that's countless hours of gameplay, $20. And then I did have to rebuy a charger and new battery, because the battery that came with it was the original one. He's had it, you know, since 2006 or whenever the PSP 3000 model came out. He's had it forever. So the battery was worn out, and so I got a new battery, which was $5, and then the charger was again $10. So altogether, you know, you're looking at like $50, and you get all these games, a PSP system, a charger, and a new battery, and you're good to go in 2017. Now again, this is the PSP 3000 model. There was a 2000 model, a 1000 model, and then the PSP Go before the Vita. The PSP Go was kind of forgotten about. It really, in my opinion, wasn't needed. It basically was the smallest PSP, the lightest PSP. It had the coolest design in my opinion, because it flipped up, or it slid up I should say. So it had the full screen on the front, and it basically take this, chop off the sides, and just have the screen, and then you'd slide it up to being the control panel. So you'd have the directional buttons, the little analog stick, start and select, and then your proprietary 4 buttons here, and then your shoulder buttons. And the only thing, or the biggest drawback to it, is they removed the drive, or the UMD drive, so you couldn't play any of your physical games anymore. So if you had the old PSP and you wanted to upgrade to it, it was really stupid, because you literally would have to rebuy all your old games and download them to the system. And the worst part, the biggest slap in the face, it only came with 16 gigabytes of internal storage. Obviously today that sounds very minimal, very tiny compared to like the phones that have built into 128 gigabytes like my Google Pixel does. However, back then, I mean, 16 gigabytes wasn't necessarily tiny, but for games like such as these, one UMD was about 2 gigs around there. I don't know if it really says, but about like 2 to 4 gigs for one game. So literally, if you have 16, you could have 4 games, even if that, on your PSP, which is nothing. So in a way, they're kind of forcing you to then buy a proprietary, by the way, proprietary is the big word, memory stick, so that you could add more storage into it. But being that they're proprietary, Sony ramped up the prices of the memory sticks and made them ridiculously hard to find. So it just overall was a huge money grab in my opinion, and it wasn't smart. And personally, I like having physical discs. I like having physical cases for my games or gaming in general. I don't like just having downloadable content. Even though, yes, it is a good idea and it helps for a lot of people, but being that you're forced to only have, downloadable content was kind of stupid. So PSP Go, in my opinion, was a fail. The original PSP 1000 was just a little bit thicker, had kind of rounded out sides on the back, so it was easier to grip, had the best form factor. Screen was a lot dimmer, had more ghosting issues, and overall was about the same though as the 2000 and 3000. Going from the 1000 to the 2000, they made it slimmer. They took away the love handles in the back, so in my opinion, made it a little bit more cramped to use in general, but they brightened the screen, less ghosting effects, and overall just a better screen, better battery life as well. And they slimmed it down, so they took away a little bit of the UMD drive. So on the original one, they had a little switch here that was spring-loaded that would pop out, and it was just way better design overall. Now it's just literally a drawer that you have to flick open, slide your disc in, and slam it shut. Not nearly as practical, but I understand. It cut down on manufacturing costs, and it's a lot lighter and cheaper. And then the 3000, which is this one, came out. Basically, all they did was they made the brightness a lot better, made the screen in general a lot better. Battery life, I think, is about the same as a 2000. Same overall design as a 2000. The only difference is they changed the home button to being the PlayStation button. They moved the Sony logo to the left side instead of the right side. And then I don't know what else they really did. I think that was pretty much it for the 3000 model. But I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I know that that's pretty much the biggest difference between the 2000 and the 3000, which is the screen. If you're going to buy one today, I'd still say the 1000 is the best for overall comfort in the hand, but if you want overall better performance and a better screen, you're going to want to go with the 3000. I think either way, you're going to spend about $80 for the system itself, which again is a steal, in my opinion, for the game catalog that you can get for super cheap and just for the amount of fun. The biggest gripes I have right now as of 2017 with the Sony PSP is, one, the PlayStation Store is now closed. It's done. You can't download any games to it unless you download it illegally offline or use an emulator or hack it, per se. And if you want to play online with your friends, you kind of, again, out of luck unless you're local, like a LAN party. Then you can both use your PSPs and race each other in Burnout or something like that, or shoot each other in Call of Duty or whatever game you want to play. But sadly, the actual online, a lot of the servers have been shut down. I haven't really tried many games to see if the servers are still working or not. I've just been playing the single player, and I'm having a blast with the single player by itself. So it's not really a big issue for me that the online is kind of null and void now. But it does kind of suck that the PlayStation Store is shut down for the PSP. You can't download like PS1 classics or anything anymore without, again, hacking it, which is pretty easy to do anyway. And the memory cards, the Memory Stick Pro Duo is what the PSP original takes. Not too hard to find, but it's still kind of expensive. So if you want like a 32 to a 64 gig card, you're looking at, $80 to $100. But mine is just a 2 gig card in there, and that's more than enough space. I need just a few songs on it I wanted to put on there, and then for my game saves, because game saves are literally nothing. But if you want to put a lot of movies on here and music, you're going to be spending a lot for a memory card, which kind of sucks. But those, if you get those out of the way, if you're just going to buy this as a gaming console, this is still an awesome steal, an awesome deal. And let me show you just a little bit here. I'm going to have to play it backwards pretty much, but this is the graphics on the PSP Go, or the PSP, I should say, 3000. I don't know if you can really see it. The brightness is really high right now. But overall performance, I've actually been pretty impressed with, pretty blown away. I thought, I'd have frame rate issues, being so spoiled with like 60 FPS. I really thought that I would have a lot of issues with it only being 30 FPS, but all the games that I have right now, at least, they all run very smoothly. I haven't had any frame drop issues, like maybe very minor ones here and there when there's a lot, and I mean a lot going on at once. But for having basically a portable PS2 in your pocket for a console that was made pretty much 11 years ago, it's really remarkable how well it holds up to this day, like really. And the games, again, just because graphics aren't as amazing as you can get to this day's standards, the gameplay, it makes up for it in every aspect, every way possible. It's really amazing. So that's pretty much as a gameplay, a little bit of Flat Out. Again, one of my favorite games on the PSP, next to Twisted Metal. It's still, to this day, 2017, is still amazes me. It blows me away on how well this thing has held up. Also, I mean, durability wise, my coworker, he had this since 2007, I think. So there's honestly no scratches on it. He didn't even have a screen protector on it, so he kept pretty good care of it. But being that it's all plastic, I mean, obviously if you do drop it, it's going to take a few hits, but then it'll probably shatter or crack. So be wary of that. It's a lot more fragile of a system than, let's say, the Game Boy or the Nintendo DS, because that had a clamshell design. You could protect the screen when this does not. So I'd recommend getting some type of carrying case like I have here. This is the Traveler case. It's just like a clear case that your PSP sits in, like so, and then this protects the screen. I don't ever play my PSP with it in this device because I hate the screen protector, because it actually does kind of deter the overall quality of the screen. But it's a nice little holder for sure for traveling, and it's got grips on the back, make it easier to hold the PSP and all that, so that's pretty nice. And it holds 2 UMDs alongside the one that would be inside of your system. And then I also purchased a UMD holder, so this holds 8 games. So it opens up on both sides, so this side as well as the back side. And it's a magnet clamshell design, so you can hold all your games in it, and it shuts with a magnet, so you don't have to worry about it opening in your bag or whatever. So pretty cool design. And very, very recommended if you're going to be getting a lot of PSP games, if you're going to look at a PSP nowadays. By the way, I will have links in the description on Amazon to purchase one for yourself if you're looking at buying one. And I really hope you guys check it out. I mean, I've been having a blast with this ever since I got it day one. Battery life is the last thing I'll talk about. And essentially, I mean, being that what this system can do, especially for when it was made, getting 4 or 5 hours of a game out of it before it dies is still not terrible. Obviously, today's standards is pretty bad. It's not amazing by any means, but it's not terrible. Especially if you get a car charger, which are still pretty easy to find. I ended up just actually buying an adapter so I can plug the regular charger that this comes with into my car, so that works too. So if you're on the go a lot, you can always charge it without having any issues. And you can play it while it's charging, by the way, too. So if you just want to sit in home at your house, be next to the wall, and charge it the whole time, you can play it like that and never have an issue with it dying on you. But yeah, you're roughly going to get about 4.5 to 5 hours. That's what I've been getting anyway before it dies, with a brand new battery. So if you find a PSP with an old battery in it, you're roughly going to get less than that. You're probably not even going to get 5 hours. So that's just something to look forward to or to be wary about before purchasing one of these. But overall, I mean, even watching videos on this, not bad whatsoever. I honestly would watch a full movie on this to this day and not have an issue. Yes, I have a cell phone with a 1080p display, which this is not 1080p, not even 720p actually. It's even worse than that. But in everyday use, when you're looking at it, you can't even tell, especially once you get used to it after 5 minutes of using it. Obviously, if you jump from a cell phone screen to this, you're going to notice pixels, and you're going to be like, this is terrible. Well, not even terrible, but you're going to notice it's different. But again, if you just look at the fact that it was made 10 plus years ago, you can kind of give it a pass on that. And still, to this day, it looks amazing, especially the games on it look very, very good. If that is on the PSP 3000 model. It's going to look a little bit worse on the older models, the 2000, the 1000, because of the ghosting issues and the not as bright screen. And the last thing I forgot to mention on the 3000, they did have like a vivid color feature, so the colors pop a lot more on this version than they do on the other two. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just really wanted to get my opinions out and talk about what it's like to have a PSP, a PlayStation Portable, in 2017. Is it worth it? You know, is it more just a nostalgia type thing? And yeah, it does have to do with nostalgia, I will admit. But even if you've never had a PSP in your life, or if you want to get one for your kids, they're going to have a good time with this. Even maybe today's standards, if you buy this for your child and he brings it to school, his friends are going to be, what the heck is that? Where'd you get that? And maybe he'll be the talk of the town for a while. That's all I can say. That's an awesome device. Still to this day, 2017, awesome buy. Definitely recommended. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Leave a like to show your support as always. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.